Greetings and welcome to the course on Curriculum and Course Design, Week 1, Unit 5. In the previous unit, we understood some features of NEP 2020. Now we will, in the current unit, we will try to understand features and requirements of professional and engineering education as per NEP 2020. What NEP has done is, they looked at professional education separate from higher education, because professional education has certain features. So we look at what professional education is considered to be by NEP 2020. In the section 20.1, preparation of professionals must involve an education in the ethics and importance of public purpose, an education in the discipline, and an education for practice. So it expects in all professional programs that all these four elements are to be involved. That is ethics, public purpose, discipline, and practice. That means the curriculum should have components belonging to all of them. It must centrally involve critical and interdisciplinary thinking, discussion, debate, research, and innovation. Many of these things, unfortunately, are not present in the current day engineering programs, at least. For this to be achieved, professional education should not take place in isolation of one specialty. That is, if you have a mechanical engineering program, all courses, including electives and all that, should not be only in the area of mechanical engineering. Okay? And this is a little difficult to achieve. We will try to explore the options available for that. In section 20.2, here standalone agricultural universities, legal universities, health science universities, technical universities, and standalone institutions in other fields shall aim to become multidisciplinary institutions offering holistic and multidisciplinary education. All institutions offering either professional or general education will aim to organically evolve into institutions or clusters offering both seamlessly and integrated manner by 2030. That is the goal that is set up. Here, we have, in the country, we have legal universities, agricultural universities, health science universities in the form of medical colleges, technical universities, and there are some standalone institutions in other fields like maritime engineering, sometimes tribal education, and so on and on. But all these institutions should evolve into holistic and multidisciplinary programs. Okay, to that extent, one of the first thing that is required is the faculty composition will have to change. Because if you take legal university, they will have predominantly people connected with legal issues, lawyers or tax specialists and so on. Same thing with health science universities. And that will have to change, which is not going to be very easy. Okay. But the goal is to do this by 2030, and government is trying to put a lot of effort in trying to achieve this goal. Now, we are more particularly interested in technical education. Technical education, by definition of NEP, includes degree and diploma programs in engineering, technology, management, architecture, town planning, pharmacy, hotel management, and catering technology, which are critical to India's overall development. There will not only be a greater demand for well-qualified manpower in these sectors, but will also require closer collaborations between industry and higher education institutions to drive innovation and research in these fields. Furthermore, influence of technology on human endeavors is expected to erode the silos between technical education and other disciplines too. Technical education will thus also aim to be offered within multidisciplinary education institutions, and programs have a renewed focus on opportunities to engage deeply with other disciplines. I am reproducing the section 20.6 as it exists. For example, when they defined what technical education, they did not include what do you call health education, agriculture, though they all come under professional education. But that is because this is regulated by, this technical education is regulated by AICTE and also accredited by National Board of Accreditation. So there is a kind of a limitation on this, but if government is whatever it is trying to do is trying to kind of expand this and bring it all under one large body, either for accreditation or for regulation. Okay, so here we are concerned with, as you can see, engineering, technology, management, architecture, town planning, pharmacy, hotel management, catering technology. These are the areas with which AICTE and NBA are concerned with. Now let us come specific to engineering education. Now, if you collect all the points that were mentioned by NEP with respect to higher education, professional education, particularly engineering education, these are the features that get filtered out. First thing is holistic. That means you need to be trained in so-called liberal arts, and several names are given for that. It can also be considered professional. There are several names that have been used to this. Then it should be multidisciplinary, and the graduate should have employable skills at all stages. That is, at the end of first year, at the end of second year, third year, and at the time of graduation. Employable skills. Then we have ME program, that is multiple entry, multiple exit feature that needs to be built into this. And broadly, 160 credits 4-year or 200 credit 5-year programs are offered. Another feature of engineering programs are projects, internships, and some amount of research. And if you look at around India, you have all these features are available in some programs or the other, though not in all. Like some IITs, they offer a 5-year program. So right from you can a 200 credit program that will lead you to a master's degree. And many people are now, besides projects, are also including internship, and sometimes they are trying to include research as well. Okay, so there are examples of all programs that incorporate all these things, but it is not yet universal in India. And what are the challenges that we have for achieving this? Acceptance by the faculty, as it requires change in the mindset and the work involved. This is going to be a very big hurdle, and faculty need to be sensitized to these issues. One of the attempts of this particular course is to see that whether faculty can reimagine their role in undergraduate engineering programs. And one can, because our education is dominantly dependent on standard textbooks. So for some of the courses, you may not be able to have textbooks. So how will you meet this particular requirement? That is, it requires creating learning material. When each faculty member tries to create learning material, it may not fall into some kind of a broad band that would be acceptable universally. Okay? And this also requires faculty composition change. How will you meet your what do you call holistic requirements? What kind of faculty are required, and what kind of courses do they offer? Where are they located? Will they be part of a department, or will they constitute mm, a separate department, or you will work out a mechanism where these faculty are distributed in different departments, and the departments need to have very strong interaction among themselves to meet everybody's requirement. And then the budget structure for the current practice need to be changed. Presently, budget is structured in one particular way, predominantly to meet the disciplinary requirements. But now you require, especially to offer courses that are what you call liberal arts or any other ones, you need to have a separate budget structure needs to be changed. And further, some of the problems can be addressed through good integration of technology into all aspects of teaching and learning. Earlier, we didn't have this, so integrating all this could become difficult. But now technologies are available, and all faculty should be completely familiar with how to integrate technology into all these aspects. This technology we are talking about offering courses, either online mode or creating a significant amount of material, how to use the AI tools, how do you make your testing appropriate, and how do you evaluate, how do you create variations. All this can potentially be done by integrating technology. But then that requires a lot of practice, a lot of understanding, and implementing the same at every institute. And if you look at right now, what are the implicit assumptions of many present programs? That means if you are able to identify, then what happens, the faculty can work together to understand the implications of these assumptions and how do you overcome them. Besides English, the liberal arts courses are not that important. That's what many people feel. At best, they can be offered as mandatory non-credit courses. Unfortunately, if you look at even the AICT also said that a few years ago, though they do not say it anymore. So what happens, you start offering some non-credit courses, let's say on topics like environment or constitution and many other things. A non-credit course doesn't make any sense at all in a formal program, because when there is no credit that is given, neither the faculty nor the students will be interested. So the concept of non-credit courses should be completely done with in designing a curriculum. You are officially admitting it is not particularly important, but you need to know. That will not work in formal courses. Engineering science courses are more important than engineering courses. That's how the whole engineering program, as we have already mentioned, has evolved. Now you have to bring engineering back into engineering, not just only engineering science. Boards of studies, for example, as of now, can only have faculty members and even the outside experts of the concerned engineering branch only. If I am designing a ECE program, if I only bring people only with ECE background, either internally or from external sources, why would they be concerned with non-ECE type of subjects? So the constitution of boards of studies also need to be changed. Students of all branches need to be familiar with the basics of 4 traditional branches. This has been the bane for quite some time, and some of the programs are slowly discarding this. That is, right in the first year, or sometimes in the third semester also, you have courses like basics of civil engineering, basics of mechanical engineering, like that. And these courses do not make any sense whatsoever, and it is unnecessary waste of credits as it happens. So their role will have to be rediscussed, and they have to be replaced with something different. Students of all branches should be able to program in C and Python. That is how, again, many curricula are defined. For example, programming in C is a compulsory course, either C or Python. And again, looking at the features of multiple entry, multiple exit programs, they are recommended by NEP 2020. MEME programs can provide good way to overcome issues of unemployability. It becomes possible to restore engineering to engineering programs. They offer a chance to take fresh look at engineering programs. The moment you say your curriculum has to be defined to provide the feature of multiple entry, multiple exit, then you need to look at your entire engineering program afresh. Then you have to keep some principles of learning in place, because many of these things are given up because of the centralized examination system, where standard answers to be given to some kind of standard questions. Okay, what are some principles of learning that we need to keep in mind? Students learn well when they are clear about why they are learning. If they don't know, if they are not very convinced or don't know why they are learning, obviously learning will be very poor. Like saying that it is likely to be useful to you after 10 years, 5 years, that will not motivate any student to learn. Good learning takes place when the time gap between introducing a concept and its application is small. That is, you cannot introduce a concept in second year and say I'm going to apply in fourth year or third year. The time gap between the two should be as small as possible. It is even better and motivating if a concept is applied first and it is taught later. That is, you directly make the student experience in using a concept and apply it first, and then teach the concept at the next level. Good learning and acquisition skills can take place without going through the present sequential route. Unfortunately, we have been used to what you call sequential route. We should know the basics, first science, mathematics, and some engineering science subjects, and then only you can apply this knowledge and skills in the later course in terms of engineering courses. And this is a thing that needs to be overcome. Actually, good learning and can take place without going through sequential manner. There are many programs around the world where you start with giving experience in design of some product right in the first semester. And that is what will motivate the students, and that's what will excite them also. In India, a few institutions are attempting this. So there are models in India also for following this. Motivations can be kept high when the students continuously acquire usable skills. Okay, usable skills do not mean solving the end of the chapter problems. Some skills that can be used universally. Okay, so if you keep making them acquire some usable skills, the motivation for learning is kept at a very high level. Now let us look at if you want to create an MEME program, what kind of requirements are there? First of all, the BE program should be holistic, multidisciplinary, and designed in the framework of OBE, that is outcome based education, and NBA accreditation. That is fixed. OBE and NBA accreditation are predefined. And in our language, the program should attain program outcomes given by the NBA and program specific outcomes written by the department as per current practices. This we cannot modify. For a MEME program to be acceptable, the deviation from the current PSO's curricula should not be too drastic. For example, if you modify the current program too drastically, it is not going to be acceptable to many people. But once the MEME structure is accepted and starts getting used, it will evolve. It is not as if that we can give a final solution at this stage. But first start with some kind of MEME program, and based on the experience the faculty gets, it can keep on evolving. The only feature is the MEME feature requires that at the end of every year of study, the student should acquire employable knowledge and skills. That is what the basic requirement of a MEME program. Now, this has been presented in the earlier course. OBE-NBA framework, this is valid irrespective of NEP 2020 or anything. That is, every institute has a vision, and a vision leads to a mission, and a vision and mission together lead to vision of the department, and it leads to the mission of the department, and it leads to creating program educational objectives, and these objectives are created by a whatever name you give, department advisory board or board of studies, and the same body also identifies the program specific outcomes, and the National Board of Accreditation identifies the program outcomes. And now the PSOs and POs together lead to curriculum. Curriculum has these 7 components as of today, and now to this we need to add something more, we will presently see. So each one of these things predominantly, other than the project, is now you can say project stroke, internship stroke research or something, but the other components are already identified by like AICTE. And majority of this, other than the project, are generally given through a set of courses. Like if you take humanities and social sciences, it consists of a set of courses. Or whether you take professional core, it consists of a set of courses. And each course is described in terms of course outcomes. This is what has been presented in the earlier course called OBEA, Outcome Based Education and Accreditation. Okay, this is what we call top-down structure. You cannot just start with what courses do I offer in professional core and work backwards in this. Okay, first you have to have this clear, and then only come down from there. And that's what the boards of studies members will have to keep in mind. At least procedurally, you follow top-down. Okay. Now, reconsidering the curriculum structure refers to identifying curricular components and their weightages. That's what the curriculum structure means. Total number of credits for a 4-year BE BTech program as per AICTE is 160. If you want, you can add 2 or 3 more just to kind of complete the number. But you can't deviate significantly, and you cannot come down from 160. The first 7 components are already identified by the NBA. 8th one is added to meet the NEP requirements. Which are these ones? Already identified: humanities, social sciences and management, basic sciences, engineering sciences, professional core, professional electives, project internship, open electives. We are suggesting 8th component called skill enhancement courses. Now, continuing with this, credits associated with each curricular component need some changes from the existing weightages. You cannot say, I need to give the same weightage to the curricular component that I am dealing with. You cannot say this has to be given there. The entire program need to be reviewed and evaluated and modified by all faculty members of the department. Some of the existing courses may need to be dropped, combined, and completely redesigned to keep up with the changes. Holistic education in the context of engineering programs is addressed through many of the pivots which are already identified by the NBA. If you look at the pivots, the 11 pivots that we now have, the first 5 are everybody is familiar with, that is with discipline related. The remaining 6, if they are suitably addressed, then we can meet most of the requirements of NEP, holistic education. With the explosion of knowledge in all disciplines, there is no way any curriculum can be designed to incorporate what is considered important by a faculty, because knowledge is exploding, exponentially increasing in all disciplines at every level. So what happens if I am teaching a course on, let us say, some analog electronics, then the knowledge is exploding so much, I will not be able to teach all the material related to analog electronics to my satisfaction. Okay, so everywhere you need to compromise and consider what can be effectively be offered at the undergraduate level. Students can only learn well when they are engaged with new knowledge over longer periods of time. This means that the course should not be overloaded. What does it mean? Let us say, take again analog electronics. You learn analog electronics by designing a variety of applications either at the paper and pencil level or at the simulation level or in the laboratory, putting some state-of-the-art elements together for the circuit to perform a function. Now, all this will require solving problems, simulating, that you are engaging with the new knowledge that you are learning. But engagement also will take time. To provide for the time, you cannot increase the curriculum load. That is, you cannot have too many topics included in the course. And this is where the compromise is difficult to achieve and required to be achieved. Professional electives, this is a suggestion, but people have been experimenting with many different ways. Professional electives can be offered as several bouquets. A bouquet may be designed as a soft core to address the multidisciplinarity. Many people are moving towards this, but what happens is, let us say you have 18 to 24 credits kept for a professional elective. This professional elective should not all be technical courses. You also have to meet the related multidisciplinarity in that. So some of them may not be strictly technical. And again, this requires the right kind of faculty as well as requires fairly deep discussion by a faculty. Another opportunity is for open electives should be designed with focus on addressing PO 6 to PO 11 to meet the multidisciplinarity requirement. Textbooks cannot constitute the basis for designing all courses. there may not exist. Instructor needs to curate learning material from printed and internet sources. Redesign and implementation of any curricula at present needs to assume considerable use of education technology. Okay, this we have already mentioned. That is, you can offer blended learning mode, or what do you call, in a variety of ways that you can offer, online mode and so on. Holistic education can be achieved through by designing courses of humanities and social sciences open electives, ensuring the attainment of PO6 to PO11 as required by the NBA. Okay, PO12 was there in the earlier version, but NBA right now has only 11 POs. Increasing the number of credits for humanities and social sciences that is required to be done. Multidisciplinarity can be achieved by increasing the number of credits for electives from 18 to 24. That is a suggestion. It is not that is the only solution. Organizing electives as bouquets, with each bouquet having 9 credits of courses from areas other than the core area. They can come from mathematics, development, computing, management, SDGs, that is Sustainable Development Goals, psychology, etc. Open electives, that is 9 credits, can also be taken from the areas other than the core area. And now the whole world has UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. These are identified, 17 of them. It doesn't mean that every engineering student will try to understand and do something about each one of them. At least some of them, relevant ones, can be taken and be addressed. Like, let me quickly identify. Number 1, no poverty by 2030. Zero hunger by 2030. Good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice and strong institutions, partnerships for the goals. Okay, these are 17 goals, and some of the open electives are even part of the, what do you call, the professional elective bouquet can incorporate some of these things. Now, we are suggesting one set of credits or one combination of sets of credits for the for this. You may differ, you may disagree with this, but if you deviate too much, then you are going to miss many of the features of NEP 2020. We are suggesting humanities and social sciences and management to have 19 credits, basic sciences 16, engineering sciences 14, professional core 50, professional electives 24, project internship together, all of them together 16, open electives 9, and skill enhancement courses 12. And we will, in the later units, we'll try to see what are the samples that can be sample courses that can be meet this requirement. Okay. We discussed with several faculty. This distribution seems to be reasonably meet all the requirements. But as I said, this is not the only solution. And in the next week, we present the Indian context in which curricula of undergraduate engineering programs are to be designed. Thank you for your attention.